Greetings and welcome. It looks like finally, we are broadcasting. Apologize for the delay in getting going. I'm not sure exactly what the heck is going on. I don't know if it's YouTube or the internet in general, but my gosh, an official greetings and welcome to SEM Mondays Live. I'm hoping. I do think we are broadcasting. So, an official greetings and welcome to SEM Mondays Live, my weekly live Q&A show on YouTube. And of course, since the pandemic started early last year, I have been including offering a free group energy healing session. There's an energy healing component that's part of Source Energy Medicine. It's known as the non-material aspect of Source Energy Medicine. And I'll talk more about that as we move on. Thank you, Celine. I'm glad that you can see me and hear me. And I don't have I actually don't have any questions that have come in that we couldn't simply answer directly. So I'm always curious to know what you folks who are here with me live want to talk about. And of course, if you're watching this in replay, which it seems like a large majority of folks end up doing, which I get, right? It's awesome to be able to do that at your convenience. You can always scroll down and you can leave a question in the chat, and I do my best to answer as many questions as possible in between SEM Mondays. So, and if you ever have an important question, you can always email me directly. My email is always in the show notes. You just click I think it says show more, but just below the video player. So, as you come on in, please shoot some emojis, share some love. Really excited to have the opportunity to be able to connect with you there for a few minutes. I thought, we put there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes here. Like, I don't just stroll in at 11:11 and press a button and we go. And, everything looked good during our pregame show, all of the tech checks and everything. And it's, it's always, when things are going not the way they typically do, I never know if I'm going to be able to sort them out or not. I don't have Milo's help and support for most of SEM Mondays, so flying solo, and I'm used to it, right? Been doing this for a while now. And, one thing that I have been doing a lot by email, and I just want to be more transparent with this. A lot of folks know that my background is nutrition, coaching practice in New York City, and then was partners in an integrative wellness center in New York City. And my part of the integrative wellness center was nutritional counseling, and it was also vibrational medicine. This is way before Source Energy Medicine. It was it was specifically healers who share their methodology, and I talk about that quite a bit in my book, Heal Thyself. And because folks know that I have this really strong background in nutrition, a lot of people want to ask me questions about nutrition, and I love talking about food, and I love talking about a lifestyle, right? There's more to being healthy, vibrantly well, and thriving physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. There's more to it than Source Energy Medicine. There's no question about it. And if you haven't been following me very long, it might not be obvious, but I'm very transparent about that, right? Source Energy Medicine absolutely does not take the place of eating well, certainly does not take the place of exercising every day, getting your blood flowing, getting your body moving, increasing your heart rate. It doesn't take the place of forgiving yourself or forgiving another. It doesn't take the place of getting all of the chemicals out of your life, right? Like, by lifestyle, I think the ideal lifestyle is really fragrant free, unless you're using therapeutic grade essential oils and just stuff that, like flowers, right? Just naturally, herbs and flowers and spices that naturally are very aromatic. But, I remember shortly after my parents died, and I was trying to get I started eating well and started reading every book that I could get my hands on. It seemed to make sense about nutrition. It seemed like there's always a chapter in, cleaning out I think first and foremost is your medicine cabinet, right? Getting rid of all of the chemicals, right? So I don't put anything on my body that I wouldn't eat. And by that, I mean like I live at 7,000 feet, right? Without moisturizer, I don't know what my skin would not be happy. So it's tricky to the point where I end up making my own stuff, right? Because I only want 2 ingredients, and I know 2 or 3 ingredients, and I want to know exactly where they come from. I want to make sure they're certified organic. And it took a little bit of playing with that, but you got to get the chemicals out of your life, starting with your medicine cabinet, and then extending. I think that like the next best thing is fragrant free, and hopefully something environmentally friendly for washing your clothes, right? Some people insist on some kind of something in your dryer. There are a lot of really good alternatives to doing that, right? There are these balls that you can put in your dryer, fragrant-free, non-toxic, not horrible for the environment, and of course, they're not going to poison you. So I think it's nuts to take source energy medicine and then poison your body either with what you're eating or what you're putting on your body or what you're surrounding yourself with. All of these air fresheners and potpourris and, plug-in air fresheners, and they're in your car, they're in your home, they're in every room, is slowly poisoning you. And I think it's one of the challenges with food too, right? I mean, I ate horribly for the first, so I left my parents' house when I was 17 years old, voluntarily, ran away from home in a really good way. So I'll just do that, right? Because before that, I wasn't in control of my food. So from 17 to probably 30 or 32, I ate the most ridiculous food you could possibly imagine. And the results were obvious. I mean, there was a period of time where I could eat anything I wanted and I didn't gain weight. And I felt lousy, but I didn't realize I felt lousy. I think it's if you think about it, like we have to eat ideally 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times a day. And it really, really, really makes sense to figure out your food. And I don't have any one food thing that I am a proponent of, other than it should be certified organic. If you can get as much produce locally directly from the farmer, if possible, is your absolute best bet. And of course, this is if you can't, for whatever reason, grow your own food, right? I'm a huge fan of growing as much of your own food as possible. That way you control it all, right? You could use filtered water, organic seeds, organic soil, hopefully real sunshine, and that's the ultimate nutrition, right? Then you're likely, depending on what you're growing, harvesting and eating pretty quickly after you harvest. So it's live food. It's real food. And then don't do a whole lot to that stuff, right? Like, I think putting it in a green smoothie or some kind of a juice would be like the most processed that you would do with your food. So, I think it's really, really, really important to clean up our diet, clean up our houses, right? Cleaning supplies. Think about all of the chemicals and perfumes and odor masking things that are in cleaning supplies. Now, 25 years ago, there weren't many companies selling natural laundry detergent or non-stinky dryer stuff, or skincare products for that matter, or shampoos, conditioners, all of the various things that we put on our bodies. There weren't many options. And now these days you go to a halfway decent health food store and there's almost an overwhelming variety of all of that, right? From, facial tissues, toilet paper. I gotta hope you don't use a whole lot of paper towels, but if you do, get the kind that's, made from recycled and use them sparingly. You use stuff that you can wash, right? There's no paper towels make like no sense to me at all, unless you spill something that like you wouldn't put in your washing machine, right? I hope that makes sense. Or you don't want going down your drain for whatever reason, right? Like I don't know, chicken fat, for example, right? So cleaning up your internal environment, cleaning up your external environment, cleaning up your emotional environment, your financial environment. And then, I think the ultimate layer of cleaning up is clutter, right? Just getting rid of all of the clutter. I'm a big fan of Marie Kondo. She has a very popular show on Netflix, and I'm sure it's available on other streaming platforms. She's absolutely charming, adorable, and just brilliant. Like, she makes tidying and cleaning and organizing fun, I think. And some of the best healing that I experienced was really decluttering and simplifying and organizing and giving away or donating an awful lot of stuff that I just did not use. And Marie Kondo has this brilliant way of being able to decipher what is essential and what's not. And, I'm not suggesting that everyone become a minimalist, although I think it's a very appealing lifestyle, especially these days where I am at least bombarded with, if I go on Amazon and I look for something, then of course I'm getting all of the stuff in the sidebar. That's what I just looked at, right? Or if I go on to Patagonia and I look at organic cotton t-shirts, well, guess what? I'm going to see ads for organic cotton t-shirts for likely the next week or two. And well, speaking of organic cotton, the clothes, right? If you think about it, your undergarments are the things that are closest to your body. Your skin is your largest organ, and it's porous, right? And that's one of the reasons why I don't put anything on my body that I wouldn't eat. And now I don't eat the stuff I put on my skin, and yet I could, right? It's all food grade products. So, but back to my thing about people who ask questions about food. There's so many variables, and there's no simple answer really, other than grow your own if you can. If not, organic, join a local food co-op, things like that. Shop at your local farmers market, support local agriculture as much as possible, and eat real food, right? Eat food that you look at and you know what it was when it was alive, and whether it's an animal or a plant, same thing. But it seems to me like quite a while now, all the questions that I receive about food, I refer people to Anthony William. He has a couple of phenomenal books on food that actually go from my take on it goes so far beyond just nutrient density and vitamins and minerals and enzymes, but he also talks about like what challenges, what foods would be helpful for what challenges, right? If you have these challenges, eat these foods, which I think is absolutely brilliant. It's like a cross-reference. So you can look up a condition and he'll tell you what foods to eat. And then he takes it even one step further, and he tells you like what the spiritual lesson, what the spiritual component, what the spiritual aspect of that food is, like avocado, for example. It's absolutely amazing. He shares information about this that a lot of it is not yet discovered. If you don't know about Anthony William, he publishes under Medical Medium books. He's New York Times #1 bestseller. He is indeed the fellow who is responsible for the celery juice craze. I talked about that quite a few weeks ago. And, all of the information doesn't come from his learned knowledge, although he has 30 years of anecdotal experience to draw upon, right? Working with literally thousands and thousands of people one-on-one for the last 30 years. But all of his information is you have to read his story. I really don't want to change his story. But it's all divine inspiration. It's the spirit of compassion that speaks through him. And this has been going on since he was 4 years old. And it's a very, very, very inspiring story. I could not imagine the burden that this man lives with, and starting at 4 years old. I mean, I think what I was doing when I was 4 years old, and I couldn't imagine if Spirit of Compassion started talking to me and telling me what was wrong with my grandmother, sitting at the Sunday dining room table. So I'm really, really, really so grateful to Anthony for everything that he contributes. His cornerstone book is Medical Medium. And he talks about stuff in there that you won't find really. I mean, you'll find a lot of similarities within source energy medicine, and of course, our approach is very different than his. But I love his approach because not everyone is interested in energy medicine yet, right? It's too far of a leap of paradigm belief, right? It doesn't make sense to them. Whereas eating a food or taking an herb or a supplement, something like that, would be within their realm of consideration. So, gosh, if you have any questions about food, check out his books, and I will do my best to remember to ask Milo to include. I mean, just go to Amazon and look at Anthony William, and all of his books will come up. I think he has 8 books now. The Medical Medium book was his first, and there's a revised edition that's coming out. But he has a book on cleansing that I highly, highly recommend. I refer to it all the time. He has a book on foods that heal, and I believe that's the book where he talks about the spiritual lesson that this particular food has to offer, it has to share with humanity. A lot of amazing things, like wild blueberries, for example. I never got wild blueberries before I read his description of wild blueberries, and now it's eating wild blueberries is part of my absolute every day. And wild blueberries are very, very different than cultivated blueberries, which I was eating before I learned about what Anthony has to teach to share with us, right? What he taught me about wild blueberries, just absolutely incredible. And he has one on liver cleanse. He has one on, of course, his celery juice cleanse. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of just, you can't quantify the value of what this man has contributed to humanity. Just really, really, really inspiring. So, Susie shares that she has 3 of Anthony William books from the library. Bless them. They're all wonderful. They're wonderful with all capitals. That's awesome. Susie, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it always annoys me personally when people discount what he's sharing because it's not based on his learned knowledge, right? It's based on Spirit of Compassion speaking to him, right? Literally speaking to him, speaks in his right ear. He's a medium that is actually unlike most mediums, right? So, I would much rather have, if you think about it, like the information that he's sharing, like if you just read he has some great podcasts. If you read or listen to the podcast on coffee, you'll never drink coffee again. There's no two ways about it. And there's a lot of people who talk about, get caffeine out of your life, but he explains why, really, right? And very, very deep. And a lot of people think, oh, it's conspiracy stuff. And, it'd be hard to listen to that and say, well, it's not his conspiracy theory. It's Spirit of Compassion shining the light on something that has been going on since the 50s. And eggs, for example, right? If you listen to his podcast on eggs, I can't imagine you wanting to eat eggs ever again, even if you have laying hens on your property, So it's really eye-opening, cutting-edge material that you're not going to find anywhere else. And he trains physicians. He has medical doctors who go to him for training so that they can be, I think they're called medical medium friendly physicians, which is, just like like that is to me a phenomenal combination, right? Of someone who is classically trained and, an MD plus open to what Anthony has to share, and marrying the two in some really deep and profound ways. There are a lot of functional medicine people who are Anthony William friendly and Anthony William trained. So that's my thing about so in the future, if you ever ask either on this or send an email or some kind of communication about food, that'll be your response. Check out Anthony William, Foods That Heal, I think is the book that I'm thinking of. And his book on cleansing also just absolutely brilliant. His 369 cleanse, highly, 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 highly recommend it. And, the crazy thing is, back when I practiced nutrition, I did, but based on my experience, the best, I coached a lot of people through cleansing. And after becoming intimately familiar with Anthony's material, I'd never suggest a lot of the stuff that I used to do, like gallbladder flushes and things like that. It's interesting because, he talks about it. There are a lot of wellness professionals who are doing the best that they can based on the current information that's available, and a lot of that information is either wrong or just completely not helpful. So I would much rather take information from the spirit of compassion through, a guy who is, I think, is a pretty neutral channel, right? One of the challenges with mediums or channels is the material gets tainted in some way, right? It gets manipulated. It ends up being in some kind of a personal agenda. And, in all the time that I've been studying Anthony, he certainly has personality. He certainly has a unique way of being. I love the guy. I really, really, really just love him. And I think he is the genuine, Edgar Casey, I think, maybe comes close to what Anthony, in his time, but what Anthony William has contributed is probably thousands of times more helpful and more impactful and more accessible than Edgar Casey's material, no question about it, or Padre Pio, or, there certainly have been a lot of people, not a lot of people, there have been a small handful of people who have contributed a lot to helping us to figure out how to heal ourselves, right, with using what's available. So that's my rant on food. So for whatever it's worth, figure out your food, and think about it, and not too long you're going to be eating again, and you may as well eat something that is going to be contributing to your healing, speed the overall healing process, increase your mental clarity, your physical energy, your physical stamina, help you to sleep, help your endocrine system. There's so many challenges these days that even if you didn't do source energy medicine, you just ate properly, you wouldn't have those challenges. Like a lot of the adult onset diabetes, of course, I'm not just talking about some of the obvious, like the obesity, which is, talk about a epidemic. It's unsettling, especially in young people, but hypertension, a lot of cardiovascular stuff, a lot of cancer stuff, a lot of what gets characterized or diagnosed as chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, just so many things can be completely reversed with simply changing the food that you eat and cleaning up your environment, right? Getting the chemicals out of your environment, getting the hatred, the harsh judgment, the resentment, the lack of being willing to forgive. So it's all a big part of healing. And gosh, I hope no one ever thinks that what I teach, what I share is just take source energy medicine and you can do anything that you want. You could drink alcohol excessively. You could eat fast food, 4 times a day. Don't have to exercise. You don't have to be nice or kind or polite or generous. You don't have to forgive. It's like so not what I I think what I stand for, right? The way that I choose to live my life is pretty much what I teach, right? It is cleaning up relationships, cleaning up your house in every way that you can: emotional house, physical house, mental house, spiritual house. Have a daily spiritual practice. Have a form of meditation. Have a part of your daily routine that is focused on healing, right? Self-healing and healing in every way that we heal. And sometimes it's physical healing, and sometimes it's more of an emotional work that the nature of the work is more emotional, right? Or what we would characterize as mental, or sometimes it's spiritual, right? There are spiritual wounds that I have worked on, that picked up just from, growing up, from childhood, from early religions and school and parents and relatives and neighbors. And, it all has an effect on what I experience in my body, in my relationships, financially, and creatively, in every way, right? So it's all interconnected. We try, I think, really, really hard to segment and compartmentalize the physical and the mental and the emotional, and we can't compartmentalize any of it. It is all part of one, even though we could calibrate each one differently, and each one would have its own calibration. But it's one of the reasons why I am most interested in our overall energy level being at our ideal energy level. And if that makes absolutely no sense to you, you can read my book. It'll make much more sense. There's some YouTube videos where I talk about calibrated energy level and why it's important. And vitally important, right, to everything. So, yeah. So I'm going to segue now into the group energy healing part of SEM Mondays. And on your end, get as comfortable as you can, right? And, we're all in different places geographically, and some folks are at work, some folks are taking a break from work, and are taking a break from their day to experience this. And whatever comfortable looks like for you. A lot of people like to lie down and close their eyes. So if you're in a place where that's appropriate, you can do that. It's safe to do that, and it's comfortable for you to do that, then do that. And if it's not, then just, sit comfortably, turn off all your devices, turn your ringers off if you can, and just honor this time, right? This is sacred time. This is, bless you for carving out of your busy schedule time to continue to work on transforming, balancing, and restoring, ultimately healing yourself. I always suggest that you choose one goal or one challenge per time that you experience this session. And my main logic there is because it's easy to track one thing, right? Whether it's a goal or a challenge. If I have one goal, the hours, days, weeks later, it's much easier to track progress than if I choose 4 things that I want to work on simultaneously. And it's hard to find things in terms of tangible or measurable results. So the work is phenomenally fast, probably 5 or 7 minutes or so. I don't have a timer. I do what I do, and there's a certain point in what I'm doing where there's no more that we can do today. This certainly is not the equivalent of experiencing a one-on-one session with one of our non-material source energy medicine practitioners. However, we can, like what I will be leading you through, is the things that are most essential to helping you to stay healthy during this crisis, this health crisis, this pandemic, which is getting more complicated if you really think about it, right? COVID is mutating, and I don't know how much you know about viruses, but that's what they do, right? It's what a virus does to stay alive. So I have a lot of issues with this vaccine, and one of the issues is the virus is smarter than most humans are. The virus is smarter than, vaccine researchers, smarter than pharmaceutical companies. And, it's going to do what it's going to do to continue to stay alive. That's one of the challenges with the AIDS virus. And, all viruses will do that. They'll mutate and they'll mutate out of the spectrum, really, the vibrational spectrum of whatever the treatment is that's being offered. So within source energy medicine, we're able to treat all viruses as one vibrational entity. And really what's going to make the difference between those who get sick and those who don't get sick, specifically with COVID, has to do with the calibration of their physical aspect of their being, right? Which is largely rooted to the calibration of the subconscious mind. And that's there's a lot to that conversation, but you don't have to understand all of the bits and pieces, but know that that's the primary focus of this work that we're about to embark upon. So this work is non-dramatic. It's not cathartic. You don't get worse before you get better if you pick a challenge where there's physical pain, for example, because we're not fighting dis-ease. We're not fighting imbalance. We're not fighting conditions with certain labels. We're simply transforming slow vibrating energy into fast vibrating energy. And it's like walking into a dark room and turning on the light switch. Same energy is there, it's just expressing itself differently, right? Technically speaking, the darkness is still there. It's just being perceived differently. And that's one of the gifts of source energy medicine, because then there's no healing reaction. There's no possibility of a healing crisis. There's no detoxification. Whether we're looking at like toxic heavy metals or we're looking at, 50 years of resentment or anger or frustration or blame or shame for that matter. So as you get comfortable, think about what that one thing is that you would like to receive. And it's really important for you to know, whether you're watching this live or in replay, the same potential is there, right? And if anything, the potential actually gets greater as the replay of this really takes on a life of its own, with everybody who will ever experience the session contributing. No one could ever detract from it. No one can ever take away from the potentiality, but we can only add to it. And it's really important for you to know that, especially in this, right? I think if you're making and taking source energy medicines at home, even in that scenario, might look like, it's the charging labels that's doing the healing, or it's the water that's doing the healing, or it's the structuring and charging of the water molecules. And the truth is, whether you're exploring charging labels or the non-material aspect of source energy medicine, which is what we call the energy healing component, you are always healing yourself. And it is indeed that source energy that is within you that is always responsible for your healing, for your transformation. The challenges are human created. The healing, the transformation, the balance and restoration is always divine, right? It's always of and from source energy. So because that's true, you are indeed setting the pace and the tone and the tempo, and I am simply helping you to remember, energetically speaking, how to do all of this, right? So that your body and your really every one of your bodies, right? Mental body, emotional body, spiritual body, physical body, can be self-balancing, self-healing, and self-correcting, which I believe is the original game plan for the way humans ideally express themselves. So I turn my camera off. So what I'm doing is not distracting to. There should be technically, the technical gods willing, there'll be some chanting in the background, and that's simply so that you know that we're still streaming, right? That something's still happening. And again, the work is phenomenally fast, and yet please know that this work will continue to unfold for you for hours to come. And there is absolute added benefit to coming back and revisiting either this same session or choose another group energy healing session from one of the other SEM Mondays that started, April 2020. So go ahead and get nice and comfortable on your end, and I will get things set up on my end. I invite you to take a nice deep breath. And as you breathe in, simply feel the air moving through your nostrils, gently and naturally. You don't have to think about it. And if your mind wanders or drifts away, or you start to get worried or concerned, just bring your attention back to the sensation of the air moving through your nostrils. And as you focus in on that one goal or that one challenge that you would like to receive today, as much as possible, try and see it the way the source of all creation sees it. One of the reasons why there is no order of difficulty when it comes to healing is because it is that divine energy within you that is always responsible for the healing. And it's only the ego that would want you to think otherwise, both in terms of healing that you experience and healing that you don't experience. And if for any reason you set a goal or you choose a challenge to work on and results are not immediate, often the work is, how am I blocking that miracle from being fully embraced? It's often like someone standing outside my front door knocking and I'm just ignoring them. And technically speaking, that ignoring them is a form of resistance, right? Often rooted in subconscious resistance, often tied in with the ego, often tied in with limiting beliefs, either about the condition, or about healing, or about my worthiness. So as much as possible, try and see yourself the way the source of all creation sees you, which is totally and completely worthy, so deserving of everything imaginable, truly whole and in every regard, utterly perfect, and complete in every way possible. And as much as possible, try and see this goal or this challenge from the end, right? As if it has been fully received, fully materialized, fully manifest in every way that it possibly can be. And breathe into what that will feel like, whether it's physically or emotionally. Think about what it will look like, what others will share with you, will reflect back to you. And continue to breathe into each of those and use them as an anchor. Use them as a way of pre-paving your way to that which you would choose this day to receive. Continue to breathe comfortably and simply allow. invite you to take a nice deep breath and feel the weight of the body against whatever it's resting upon. Continue to allow, continue to receive. And if your eyes are closed, please go ahead and slowly blink them open and come back to here and now in this time-space reality and SEM Mondays Live. You know, I often comment that there is equal potential, whether you're experiencing this with me live or you're watching this in replay. And a lot of people in our community have used the replays as part of their wellness plan during this pandemic, and watching the replays once or twice during the day, you know, literally putting it in their schedule, setting an alarm and putting it in their schedule. And I think there's massive value in doing that. And on one hand, it doesn't really matter which of the replays you watch, and yet if you watch enough of them, I think you'll find that each one has its own, it feels a little bit different, right? And that might be a stronger feeling for some, and others, you know, might not be able to discern the difference between one or the other, and both are fine. And I'm always curious what I experience on my end, because I facilitate a lot of non-material source energy medicine sessions, both individual and groups, and with different groups, right? Like our practitioners, those who are trained and certified practitioners, when we do group energy sessions within that community, it's definitely different than when we're doing it here on SEM Mondays Live, for example. And I think part of it is those folks know everything that there is to know about this work. And because they know what they know, it increases the potentiality. So there's definitely a link between what I know and what I believe to be true and your experience and your results. So I just want to share that with you, and just wanted to point out that you know, if one session feels different than another, it's not that I'm having a good day or having a bad day or having an off day. If you really think about it, I've already said a couple of times, you are always responsible for your own experience, right? For your own transformation, balance, and restoration, or lack thereof. And when you're not experiencing what you would want to achieve, there's always some form of resistance. Usually it's subconscious, but it could be conscious or unconscious. So I do indeed do a lot on my end to prepare myself for every single session as much as possible. And I've been doing this for enough years that I can't say I've ever had a single session where I have felt like it was less than spectacular, and if anything, it's almost quite the contrary. I'm always amazed by what unfolds, by what I experience, because I'm doing certain things to facilitate the work, and yet it is, of course, the source of all creation who is working in me, as me, and through me, connecting with that same energy in you, and that's essentially the process that we do, right? It's not channeling an ascended master or an archangel or any deity or anything like that. It is indeed simply connecting my higher self to your higher self, my soul level to your soul level, the source of all creation within me to the source of all creation within you. It is the ultimate, I think, expression of namaste, right? Which is often used in yoga communities and has expanded way out of yoga communities, has become kind of commonplace, which I love, but it essentially means that the divinity in me bows, recognizes, honors the divinity in you. So, and I love that. Deb always says namaste in her check-ins, which I always appreciate. Thank you for that, Deb. And right before you came on, I scanned the chat real quick looking for questions. I don't see any questions, but I do see some awesome, amazing people in our who show up regularly in our community. And one woman who is standing out is Yasmin. Awesome to have you join us here, Yasmin. I don't know where you are geographically these days, but you are often in my thoughts and prayers. So Thank you, everyone, to your active participation, for your contribution to helping to make the planet energetically and in many other ways, right? Just your being is healing. It's transformative, right? When you choose to show up as the greatness that the source of all creation created you to be, and consciously work on everything that was human created that could get in the way from you being the brightest, most beautiful, radiant version of you, then I think we're paving the way for a brighter future for all of us. So between now and next Monday, take really, really, really good care of yourself. Take advantage of the videos that are on the YouTube channel. If you're totally new to Source Energy Medicine, in the show notes below this video, there's a link to our free course in Source Energy Medicine, and it contains everything that's really essential to your journey with not just getting started with Source Energy Medicine, but it certainly contains the charging labels, how to take Source Energy Medicine video, 16, I think, modules and all, some really, really, really good in-depth videos in there. It's not just a sampling or a tease for something else. And if you are intrigued and interested in learning more about Source Energy Medicine, or if you're an integrative wellness practitioner and you want to learn how to most practitioners really want to master both, right? Or charging label technology, and we have a certified Source Energy Medicine coach training. All of our trainings are all online now. We don't do any live events anymore. And it was true before COVID, and I'm really, really glad that we made the transition to doing everything online a long time ago. Because the learning curve was super steep. It still is. And if you want to learn how to do the energy work, right, the non-material aspect of Source Energy Medicine, we have workshops for that too. But everyone starts with the fundamentals, and we've changed all of our online workshops to be available on a membership basis. So there's a monthly option, an annual option, and a lifetime option, so that you get to choose the one that is best for you, based on current existing factors. So if you ever have any questions about any of that, again, my email is in the show notes, or you could leave questions in the chat box or the comment box below this player when it's in replay. So, God willing, next Monday I'll be back here at our regular scheduled time, and bless you for being you, for being bold and courageous and bright and beautiful and kind and generous and gracious and loving to everyone that you encounter. I wish you continued blessings on your journey with Source Energy Medicine, and of course your journey of